When you discovered the law of attraction, you started to believe anything was possible. Life got better, much better. Now you want more, but it's not working. That's where the Manifest It Now show comes in. If you've been waiting for someone who can teach you the practical application to manifest quicker and easier while having more, turn the volume up, because the dynamic duo, Cassie Parks and Ginny Gane, are ready to teach you how to live the law of attraction like they do. It's time to laugh and learn.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Manifest It Now. I'm here with Cassie Parks.
And I'm here with Ginny Gane.
And we have part 2 for you this week on Are You Manifesting Love the Right Way in our February series of love. So when we left off last week, we were talking about how there was so many different things I needed to learn through my relationships. And so Cass and I are going to kind of talk about this week different things we each needed to learn and how we learn them in different ways in order to become the person to meet our person. So it's going to be good.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. First, though, what are you excited about?
I feel excited because there's some clarity unfolding in what's coming up for Lisa and I and our life adventures, and I can't reveal all the details. I'm not pregnant yet, if that's what you're thinking. But there is some other adventures coming up that I can also not reveal yet. But it's going to involve expanding our time on the road, and that feels really exciting to me. It's in the stages of it's not planning. It's feeling the excitement of the idea. And this is one of my favorite parts of manifesting. So it's super exciting.
It's so awesome. I love that.
Yeah. What are you excited about?
I am excited. My love painted my office. So now I also have a glitter office, which I love. And I love that it was like her idea. And as, we were talking the other day, and because she has some extra time on her hands, and she's like, I think I'm going to paint, because we should have painted that one wall where the sun hits, because we have one of those glitter pillows or those sequin pillows, and when the sun hits it, it sparkles all over. She goes, we should have painted that wall with the glitter so that it sparkled. And then she was like, I can paint this wall that we still have left in glitter so that it sparkles. And it was just so fun, because that is not who she is. Yeah. But she loves, we were talking about it in the bathroom a couple of weeks ago, and she was like, I love the look on your face when you see the glitter. And so I know, it's just so fun to be living that. And I love this topic that we're doing, like, are you doing it wrong? Because now I get to say with full clarity, like, it's worth whatever time it takes. Like, it doesn't matter, those moments are worth it.
I read something the other day that was saying, like, right now is giving all these examples of all the goodness. Actually, I should have just got it to read it, but all the goodness that's happening right now in the world. Like, right now, someone is on their way to meeting the love of their life, and they're going to look back at this moment and think, oh, yeah, that was worth it. That was worth not settling. It was worth trusting myself, all the things that we're going to talk about.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
That's cool. Do you want to kind of delve in from that place in terms of, was there a lesson behind that, do you think, for you? Did it evolve anything around patience? Because, I hear a lot sometimes that is, I'll be patient, or I have to be patient, and that kind of thing.
I think one of the, the thing is that time is so interesting, right? And it can feel like a long time, like when you're waiting. And I would say I wouldn't have considered myself somebody who was waiting. Mm-hmm. Like, I was living my life, I was doing it. And so there were not very many moments where I was like, oh man, like, is it going to happen yet? Like, I knew, like, we had conversations about that. And yet, it was a little bit of time. Like, it was a while of, since I created my vision board whole workshop weekend that I made about attracting love, to the moment I was in the relationship with the love of my life was like 10 years. And yet, like, it's not that it's worth the wait, because I wasn't waiting, but it's all perfect, you know? It's just all so great when it's here that you forget all of any moment that you had where you were like, it's taking a long time.
Apparently that's like childbirth. Also, that's like a tattoo.
Yeah.
You forget the pain. The moment it's done, you're like, oh, I love it.
Yeah.
Was there anything that you consciously did during that time, other than that first workshop, like that helped you shift from making it not feel like waiting?
Like very much, like not, I think part of that was, like moving downtown, was doing whatever I wanted without a thought of like, oh, what if my person shows up tomorrow?
Yes. I think that's so important.
Yeah. So instead of planning or waiting or trying to, just putting any little thing on hold that I wanted to do, I didn't do that anymore.
Yeah. Buying a house, taking a new job, moving, traveling. I want to save that trip to do with my person. Nuh-uh. Can't do that.
Nope. And I will tell you, like, kind of early on, like, my love, she went back through my Facebook page, and the things that I did because I wasn't waiting are the things that are partly what made me so interesting.
Oh, that is so cool. It's part of the details filling in that brought you together, or well, deepened it, you know.
Yeah. Because I didn't have like this, and I don't even feel like I live a lot on Facebook, but there was things and other people, you know, would tag me in the things that we do, and like that not being a person who is just like sitting around like, that's boring. You know, like you want to get to your person and you want them to see you. Like, nobody wants to just be like, oh, they did nothing, they were just waiting on me the whole time. Like,
yeah. So really, like, part of kind of manifesting the love the wrong way is waiting.
Yes.
You know, is the best, most powerful way is go out there and live your life to the fullest that you can possibly live it, being you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fill your schedule, build your business, travel, you know, live where you wouldn't live if you were, you know, had a family, you know?
Yeah.
All those things.
Now I'm going to add a little caveat to this. It's not just going to do things that, like, not just do things to fill the gap, not do things to fill the void. It's still doing things from a place of alignment and from a place of honoring what it is you want most for you. Yeah. It's not just like, okay, well, I'm single. Well, I better go do this. And that, you know, there's just like, you know, life feels different when you're connected to who you are, or the way Cass says it, you know, when you're being your future self. And so there's a different feeling of life, period. And I mean, I'm a big believer, find that feeling first and attract your person from there. I have a question for you. We did not predetermine this, but do you believe that you can create an experience in life for yourself that's as good without your partner as with?
Yes. It's just different.
Oh, that's exactly how I feel. So I'm so glad you said that, because your experience of life 100% comes from you. It comes from within you, no matter what people tell you. Your partner amplifies that, but you have to have it first. And if I know it's like that coming back to that cheesy thing, fall in love with yourself first, you know, be everything you need to be, blah, 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 but it's not cheesy. It's so real and it's so important. And if in any way you are still using a person to fill some sort of void in you, it's going to show up in the relationship. And it doesn't mean it won't be great, but it means there will be stuff there that isn't easy peasy wonderful.
Yes. Yeah. And I think it is, when I see that, I don't actually think it's cheesy. I think, yeah, that's the law of attraction. Because you have to be, like, anytime you're waiting, you are not creating.
Yeah.
So if you are waiting for someone to show up to do these things, or you are not loving and taking care of yourself, you aren't practicing getting what you need and what you want.
Yeah.
Right? If you want somebody who's always in your corner, then you have to learn how to always be in your corner. Otherwise, you can't receive that even when it does show up. And it is a lot less likely to show up if you're not doing it, because you're not being it. You have to be the person who has someone in their corner, and if it's you, in order to get someone in your corner.
Oh, I love it. We did a whole episode. You might want to go a couple months back if you haven't listened to it, on how you attract your dream partner, because it's all about being a dream partner. And so we dive a lot into that in that episode.
Yeah. Yeah, which is, it's so important. And it does a lot of times get that cliche or that cheesiness, but it's 100%. That is what started me on my journey. I think I've shared this story before, I don't know, but to building my business and becoming who I am now, is that vision board I made in that workshop. Like, I realized that I couldn't attract that person because I wasn't being the opposite of that person. I wasn't being the person. So one of the things the thing that I remember most about that is, on the top of the vision board, it said, like, supports my work. But I only had a few clients that generally came in when my sister, like, had a friend who had a problem. Right. And so then they would come, but I wasn't living it fully. I wasn't doing my business. And it took me a while to figure out how to do my business, but that is really why I went on the journey to build my business, was because
support your own work.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. And to have a business, like, I wasn't the person that, like, supports my work, but if there's no work to support, that person can't show up. Like,
it's a funny way to look at it too.
Yeah. Like, I was like, oh, like, I want all of these things, but I'm not being the person who has all these things. So this person can't show up because I haven't become the person who's their partner yet.
One of the biggest things I had to learn, there was probably two, like, really big ones, but the biggest one for me, and it seems very kind of ironic because it's what I teach, but it's like based in taking full responsibility. So for me, for how I feel, and which on the opposite side of that is so how I feel, and giving people the freedom to be exactly who they are and where they are. And I was just sharing in the tribe how, like, I still learn that, but there was a whatever you call it, critical point where I, like, got it, you know. And I still learn it a little bit, where I'm always expanding, but so I would a lot of the times feel like I'm so happy, I'm so good, and they're not, you know. And that was my biggest, well, it's hard to, how do I stay happy around them, or how do, you know. And I'm embarrassed to admit, but I thought they were the problem. And it was a huge lesson for me to be able to fully take responsibility and be able to find my power in the relationship without blaming my partner for how I felt. And lots of different things, but that did not happen overnight, learning that and fully, like, stepping into that person who was totally gave myself the freedom to be who I am and totally took responsibility for how I feel. And that meant I used to get, I'm sure you guys have heard throughout the years, but really caught up in commitment and like, oh, how could I be with one person for my lifetime? How will I know? And I could never be able to access that knowing or that energy from a place of blaming someone else, because then my fate would be in their hands. Of course, I would be scared to make a commitment if my happiness is on their shoulders, right? So until I found that place within me where I'm like, oh yeah, you are totally responsible for your own happiness and fulfillment in your life. Now I had access to be able to know when it was right, or if it was right, or who it was. You know what I mean? So that was one of the biggest ones for me, is learning that.
I think you should. I know it. Like, I get what you're saying, but I've also lived it with you. So can you break it down a little more for our listeners? Because they might be like, there's something important there, but I don't totally get it.
The blaming the other person?
Blaming the other person, but the more important is, like, you had to take responsibility for your own in order to access when you would know. I want you to say more about that.
Okay. So we only have access to a certain level of clarity or level of knowing, right? Like, everything's vibration and frequency. So if I'm at the place of, if I'm in blame and I'm blaming and that's a certain level, 25. And then, but the clarity I want, the relationship that I want exists at level 50. Well, I don't have access to the information at level 50. So if I came across the person I was supposed to be with and I'm at a 25, I can't even feel what 50 feels like because I'm not there. And so I had to get myself there first, into that place of total responsibility and giving them total freedom before I could even know if this person was right or not for me. Did that make it any clearer?
Makes total sense. And it's so important. And it's these things that you can't, going back to the last episode, you couldn't have figured that out if you were asking yourself, why am I not ready? Like, oh, I must not be ready, right? You had to be...
Right. That relationship didn't work. That relationship didn't work. If I was
like that relationship didn't... I must not be ready. I wonder what I need to fix in order to be ready. You couldn't figure that out because this goes back to, it's such a good example of what we said last time. Like, you assume you're ready and you move forward. And what else you need to get ready shows up. So you had to figure that out for yourself so that you could get that clarity. You had to do your work to get there. And there is no way that if you would have asked, like, what's not ready, that's what would have come up.
Right. I was always really, so that I don't think I ever asked myself, like I said last week, I always loved and valued all my relationships. So I was really good at appreciating them for everything they were. And that really helped me get ready for whatever was next, whatever I needed next. I didn't do a lot of like, I did my normal, what's wrong with me, but it was in the middle of the breakup part and, moved through it pretty quickly. Like, I knew there was more for me, but I didn't stay in the self-blame a lot. You know what? I say that looking back, but I probably did spend a good amount of time in that.
I'm thinking back to a couple of moments, and I don't think you stayed there forever, right? I think that I think it's okay for a moment because that's how we learn. That's how we're like, okay, this isn't what I want. And it's part of taking responsibility for creating something different, right? It can go both ways. But I think a lot of you almost used to, I would say, take it, I don't know if this makes sense, but you would take it a lot on yourself versus, it would be more like, how can I take,
right.
Versus this isn't the right person. You would almost take it on yourself to try and fix it instead of, and I think I watched you get better at that as I'm like, oh, you're like, it's flashing before my eyes the time that we've known each other. Like, you got better at being like, oh, this isn't who they are. It's time to walk. Like, Definitely. It's time to go now. Like, they're not going to be the thing I want.
Yeah. That is a huge thing. Knowing the difference between putting energy into creating the relationship you want with someone and trying to change yourself to make it work. Or when we'll get into this, but when you find your person, it's easy and it's natural and you're you. But there's there's so many different paths I could go with this. I don't want to go off track.
We're on lessons. So is there any other lessons like that come up as you think about that, right? It's about staying true to you. It's not about how can and if we can clarify this for people, and as we work through this together, but this is a big thing, is not changing for them, but really honoring you and being okay if they are a stepping stone.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's what I wanted to say, that because there was always value in the relationship. So I was always, because I knew that I loved experiencing love. So I would never say the time was a waste. And I would always immediately pull out, well, what was great about it? What did I love? Who did I become? How did I learn from that? Which set me up for the next part. But there was always a point where it was like, I had to ask myself this question. So as you grow through life, you learn who you are more. You get more grounded and solid in who you are. But there was am I honoring myself in this? Because I would convince myself. I'm like, oh, yes, you want to be a loving partner. And that means doing this. That means spending your time doing this. I can't say it any other way, that the more solid you get in, the more clear you are about who you are, the easier it is to honor that in a relationship and not give that up, and to be able to ask for that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a learning, and it's catching yourself in those moments too, right? Because that's a tricky one, or can be tricky, right?
Yep.
Like, I want to be a loving partner, so I'm going to do XYZ.
Yep.
And it's a very fine line between not honoring ourselves and honoring ourselves by being who we want to be.
Yes. And you only know through experience. You only get to learn that through having the awareness of who you are and who you want to be, having an experience, and then reflecting back. How did that feel? I mean, the better and better you get, the quicker you catch it kind of like in the moment, and it's just different levels of feelings. And that's the thing, is the feelings are close. So it's not like one feels amazing and one feels awful. So you just need some practice in being able to identify what those are for yourself.
And so I think, as we're kind of getting to the end of this, and maybe we'll pick it up, and I know that we'll share more in forthcoming episodes this month, but that lesson, if there's one thing I want people to take away from this episode, or they go like, oh, there was a lot there, but I don't know if I can put it all, or maybe if you're taking notes, you can't write it all down, is that it comes through experience. Your path in your journey to the love of your life, to the one, if that's what you want, comes through experiencing and really applying everything you know about LOA. What it's not is analyzing what you're doing wrong, which I feel like we've made a really good point of. It's what do I want more of? It's asking that question. Am I honoring myself? Am I doing this? Is this what I want? And really just becoming the most self-aware version of yourself that you can be.
I want to say this too, as we wrap up, is if I was to tell myself anything, like I needed all the experiences I had 100%. But for someone who's learning from us, the ability that coming back to last week when we were saying trusting yourself, and when you're with someone who isn't everything, the trusting that that's okay, like just like Cass said earlier, that this is a stepping stone, is so powerful. That will move your path along so much quicker. And it's when you are honoring that it's okay for you, it is okay for them. They don't want to be with someone who doesn't want to fully be with them. So almost like, get over yourself. If I could tell get over yourself, Ginny, you're not that great. Just, I mean, you are great. Sorry. That's not.
No, but that's true. You're not that great to them. If they're not what you want, you're actually not that great to them.
Exactly. And so it is so powerful I just think society conditions us so much that like you got to make it work, and if you're in it, and if it's okay if they're not perfect, and you guys, you can have it all. You get it all. In love, there doesn't need to be any point of settling. You can have a perfect person. They are there waiting for you. Go for that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Keep moving towards them.
Yeah.
Which means keep honoring, keep
you.
loving,
Yes.
keep choosing your own joy.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
I love it. All right.
Amazing.
So let's wrap this up, and we will catch you guys next week for another episode on love.
Bye.
I love helping people manifest money because when you're learning to use the law of attraction, money is such a great tool. It gives such instant feedback. There's so many opportunities to see how the energy is flowing through you and where you might be getting tripped up or not allowing it to come in. So if you've had trouble manifesting in the past, you might want to use money as a way to learn how to use the law of attraction. Now, I have helped thousands of people manifest millions of dollars using my system Manifest 10K. And now I would love to invite you to join me complimentary and pay based on your success. You heard me right. You can join, get access to my very successful program, the Enchanted Circle, and most of all, my coaching for when you get stuck. And then you can pay me 10% of what you manifest after you're successful. If this sounds good to you, go to payafteryoumanifest.com to apply. That's payafteryoumanifest.com.
Go be awesome!
Thank you for joining us on the Manifest It Now show, where you learn how to leverage the law of attraction to manifest your dreams. Now that you're inspired, share the love and review us on iTunes. While you're there, remember to subscribe.